What's going on, New Canoe Nation, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Unlimited podcast, episode 66. Whew, cranking these things out. We got Andy Knott in the house tonight. We're going to be talking about a little river fishing, big swim baits, giant smallmouth. But few things in order. If you guys could go down in that lower left-hand corner, smash that share button. Let's get some folks in here. Drop in the comments where you guys are tuning in from, what kind of kayak you're floating out of. We don't even care if it's not a new canoe. We just want to hear from you. If you guys got any questions as we're going along throughout the show, feel free to drop those in the comments as well. We'll get those answered for you. Little River Wolf update. He is home. He is well. Things are getting better. So thank you, everybody. Thoughts, prayers, everything has helped tremendously. And our man Sonny is back home and making small steps, but working in the right direction, which is definitely what we want to hear. So thanks everybody for the continued support of our man River Wolf. We got ICAST coming up soon. We got some cool stuff in the works for that. Going to be doing a bunch of live shows down there. You guys are going to want to tune in. Probably going to be doing like 3 shows a day from the New Canoe booth. So get ready. Some exciting things on the forefront, and looking forward to getting back to Orlando in the booth, hanging out with New Canoe team members, Mr. Blake, and obviously the mysterious Everett Park. So going to be a good time. But without further ado, let's get the man of the hour in the house, Mr. Andy Knott. They're going wild for you, man. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, man. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a couple months. I think the last time I saw you was Indiana Boat Show, right?
Yeah.
A
couple hours there, huh?
Yeah, just a few. Just a few for 2 weekends, and few aching bones and feet after that. But It's always a good time down there.
Absolutely.
But let's get a little background on you, man. Where you're from, how you got into kayak fishing and fishing in general, man.
All right. Well, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, on the south side. Been fishing long as I can remember, just like most people. Dad and Grandpa got me going pretty young, drug me along on trips almost every weekend.
Nice.
Did a lot of fishing in some reclaimed strip pits down in southern Indiana. Fished out of a 12-foot John boat for almost most of my life until I got into my 20s.
Yeah, right.
Doing it right. But, man, I just would do that, and then here and there, we would do some wading in small creeks for smallmouth, and then we started to kind of venture up north into Minnesota and Wisconsin and do some family trips and chasing some smallmouth up there. And then kind of got out of it a little bit in my late teens, early 20s, just for doing what most people do.
Doing what
stage
most
of life.
Teenagers do.
Absolutely. And about mid-20s. Started really getting into wade fishing and kind of got hooked up with a local club called Indiana Smallmouth Alliance, and met some guys there, and they were all big kayakers. This is 15, 16 years ago. So they were doing the Pelicans and sit-in sides and stuff like that. And man, one of those, I was like, holy cow, this is you're getting on some water that not a lot of people are getting onto. And fell in love with it and kind of went from there and moved my way up to different brands and whatnot, and found my way with New Canoe.
When'd you get into New Canoe, and what was your first New Canoe that you got into?
So I in Indiana Smallmouth Alliance, I kind of ran into Chris Stonegrass, who is one of the owners of the local kayak dealer here. And him and I went down to Georgia and fished the Flint River.
Oh, nice.
And I had a wilderness kayak at the time, and Alan Ragsdale, we met up with him and for a guide, and he had a pursuit, and Chris had a pursuit, and I paddled one day in my ride at 115, and then the next day I got into one of those pursuits, and I was sold. Right there, sold.
Whole world of difference there, my friend.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, no, we obviously we did an unlimited podcast with Moving Water Outfitters with Chris Snodgrass. That was a great show. We did that back in the beginning part of this year. So if you guys want to go back and watch that, Chris is he's a smallmouth guy for sure, but he's big into fly fishing and stuff like that. Runs a great little shop down there. So I recommend, if you guys missed that show, go back and rewatch that on the Facebook, YouTube. Listen to it on any of the podcast platforms, man. It's that was a good one for sure. But so obviously, as you're going along talking, like the common theme in everything you just said was smallmouth. Like, and I've always known you as a big smallmouth guy, so I'm not surprised by that answer at all. But I mean, what is it about smallmouth that you enjoy more than, for say, largemouth?
Honestly, it's the river. I mean, I love being on the river. I love being away from everybody. I love the long 11, 12, 13 mile floats. Kind of the harder they are, the more I like them.
Sure.
But the smallmouth are just, I mean, they're just a different beast. They're a different animal. I mean, they just fight, and you hook one, and you think you have a 20-inch smallmouth, and it might only be 15 inches, but he's just that strong.
I've been there, man.
I kind of fell in love with it. Oh yeah, absolutely. We all have.
Like like,
that's what
I got a giant. I got a giant. I got a giant. Oh, it's 14 inches. No, it's cool, man. It's unique, and rivers are unique too, because like you said too, is especially with a kayak, you can get into waters that are basically untouched to most people.
Oh, absolutely.
It's you're obviously putting in a lot of work to get to some of these spots, but at the end of the day, it's all worth it when you're catching fish like this. I mean, I'm just saying, but no, it's super cool, man. So you're around the Indy area. I mean, the biggest river that comes to mind in that area is the White River, right? Which you fish that quite a bit, right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Kind of an urban setting, unless you go up to the north there, right?
Yeah, you're right downtown. I mean, and you never know what you're going to see on the river down there, but there's some quality fishing for sure. And it's been neglected for a long time, and it made a huge comeback, and people are slowly figuring it out how good it really is.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I know our fearless regional director, Mr. Matt Gibson, is always ranting and raving about it to me. And I remember I think I was going to Tennessee or something, and I drove right over it going through Indianapolis, and I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. I'm like, that holds big smallmouth? Like, and then as I looked on actually like sat down and looked on a map, I think when Indiana Kayak Anglers held an event there, I was like, ooh, yeah, okay, this looks interesting for sure. So is that like your favorite go-to river in Indiana, or what's kind of your favorite?
White's good. It's my favorite just because it's close and easy. I can be there in really 15 minutes. But Tippecanoe River, you guys held an event there with Paddle Fin. It's a great river. Lots of small fish, but there are some giants in there too. And then there's some really, really good creeks around here that are, pretty small, but I mean, they can hold some 18s, 19s, and 20s too. I mean, really, really good fishing, and you can have some high numbers days too, for sure.
Right on. We got Gibson in the chat. He says he's taking notes, so don't give away too much juice.
I tell him nothing.
Yeah, he catches a big one, it goes straight to his head. But no, it's cool, man. Like I mean, right down the road from me, I got a small little river here, and I mean, geez, you could pretty much cast across it almost. But like you were talking about, man, those those long float trips, we've taken numerous 10, 11, 12-mile float trips on that. And half the time it's just enjoying the scenery, man. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, granted, we're fishing, but sometimes, man, it's just like, who cares if you're catching fish?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, sceneries. I mean, sometimes you just kind of sit back and take it all in. It's like this is awesome.
Yeah.
You don't have speedboats going by you, jet skis, and it's just usually you and the water and whatever's around, and that's really sometimes the best part.
We got a fellow Indiananite in the. Is that what they call you guys, Indiananites or something?
Hoosier.
Oh, we got a fellow Hoosier. My apologies. We got a fellow Hoosier in the house, Mr. Brock Hall. He says Sugar Creek is a trophy creek. They only allow you to keep 1/20. You shouldn't be keeping those, Brock. But
Sugar is great. Sugar is phenomenal.
We got JD DeRosier in the house. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing well as well. Brock obviously corrected me with Hoosier. So my apologies to all you Indiana folks, to all you Hoosiers. I didn't mean to offend anybody, but
we'll let it slide this time.
So you got into a pursuit first, right? So what are you actually like mainly floating out of now when you're going out on the rivers?
Well, I've been in the Unlimited a lot lately. Been on a trip this spring, and then I went on one last fall. But before that, I was in a Flint most of the time, to be honest. Especially summer flows when you get low water. I love the Flint. I mean, I can just pick it up, throw it in a truck, go down to the small creek. At halftime, I'll just wade way upstream and use it as a kind of a little buffet table, have everything spread out, then float my way back.
I like it. No, it's super cool. Yeah, usually what I like to do when I fish the creek here is the Flint. I don't think I've put I put the Unlimited in there once, but usually it's the Flint when I'm going out there, man. It's just
Flint's
swift.
Great.
It's nice.
It's easy to turn, small areas. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah. No, and like you said, it's almost that grab and go style boat. When you got 2 hours after work, you can throw it in the back of the truck real quick and just take off.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 6'3", 6'4", and I mean, I walk around that thing like it's a balance beam, and I love it. I mean, it's great. For as small as it is, it's pretty stable, and I mean, it's caught me a lot of fish.
Yeah, you are a bigger dude. I think you're probably as tall as I am, maybe an inch taller, right? Yeah, you're a big guy, man. So not saying that in a bad way, but it's cool because you get a lot of people that ask like, there's no way I could fit in that,
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, of course you could fit in that. Why not? So let me ask you this, because the beauty of like when I go out on the river in the Flint, I'm taking like maybe 2 rods. Most of the time it's one small bag of tackle, and that's it, in a paddle, obviously. I mean, are you the same way, or are you carrying a lot of gear? I mean, I know we'll get into it, but you like throwing like 2-foot-long swim baits and stuff.
Yeah, I started out with a ton of stuff. I mean, I'd have 6 rods in there and a black pack, and I was loaded down. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. I tie something on, and I never retie again.
Yeah, right.
You know how it is. But sure. Now anymore, I mean, I'm trying 3 rods at the most, and halftime I'm only using 1. So handful of baits, and then a little bit bigger box for the bigger stuff. For the big hardware.
Yeah, for the big hardware. Let's get into that. Let's divulge into this, because like I've had conversations with you, I've had conversations with other guys. I don't get it. Like you're tying on, like, I know some of you big swim bait guys, so you guys are paying $100-$200 for a lure, and like me envisioning and knowing my fishing skills, I'm like, I'm gonna end up hanging that up in a tree in a cast, log in 10 foot of water, and then I'm gonna cry, and I'm gonna have to go home and explain to my wife how I just lost $200 on a tree limb. So like, But on the flip side of that, I know, these big swim baits, man, they get big bites, right? And when I first met you, and you were telling me that you catch smallmouth on giant swim baits, I was like, how does a smallmouth even fit that in his mouth? Like, I thought you were lying to me and like trying to pull a joke, but you were 100% dead serious. So like, how'd you get into the swim baits, and then what kind of drove you to chase smallmouth with those?
Well, so I talked about that trip to the Flint River down there in Georgia, and I learned a lot of things down there. But I was introduced to swim baits a little bit down there. Always kind of saw them and whatnot, but I got a chance to really use them and caught a lot of nice fish on them. And so I kind of started the path of destruction. But so I came home and just kind of started doing some research, and it's a deep hole, man. It's a lot, but you can get really sucked into it. It's just different. And I started fishing waters that I have fished for years and throwing swim baits, and I was not necessarily catching fish all the time, but the big fish were showing themselves that I have never seen on those stretches. So knowing those big fish were there, it just now I can't put it down. I mean, I'm throwing them all the time, throw them in the wintertime, and it works. I mean, it's just, it can really draw. It has the drawing power. It can be insane sometimes.
So are you throwing them all year round then?
Yeah. I mean, I'll slow it down in the wintertime. But when you know how it is, you get out there in the winter and you can get them nice sunny day, and they get active and they'll come after them. I mean, I've caught smallmouth on Sugar Creek in January on a 7-inch glide bait.
Yeah.
And the water temperatures in upper 30s, low 40s.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you think about it, it's not much different than fishing a jerkbait.
Yeah.
A very, very slow retrieve.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I remember I was down on Table Rock Lake fishing a KBF event, and a good friend of mine, Richie Lockery, he's a big swim bait guy, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go out pre-fishing, and we were obviously fishing the same tournament, and I'm like, what were you throwing? And he's like, well, I was throwing this big 9-inch swim bait. He's like, the fish would come out and chase it. They wouldn't necessarily eat it, but it was a tool for him. And I was like, that's kind of smart. You know what I mean? He's like, and if I saw a big one really coming after it, like I'd reel it in as fast as I could to get it away from him. So I didn't catch him till tournament day. And he was using it basically as a search bait to locate fish for his tournament. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. I should definitely try that. And I'm seeing more and more people throwing them, which is cool, man. I mean, it's this whole new like craze, in the fishing world. Yes. Like there's a group of individuals like that's their life, man, is big swim baits. So with that being said, like if somebody's watching, listening, and they wanted to get into throwing swim baits, right? Like what kind of rod reel combo should we look at? What kind of line we toss in? And then we can get into a couple entry level baits too.
Sure. I mean, really, I started out with like a real heavy flipping stick, I still am throwing some bigger swim baits on rods that I'm probably really not supposed to be throwing them on, just because I'm usually in, a smaller setting where I'm kind of just lobbing a bait out, just pitching it over, kind of like you're flipping a jig. I'm not really bomb casting in the rivers as much. So you can get away with a little bit lighter gear. As far as like reels, just any 300 series or 3000 series bait caster. I mean, I use a Corrado K, and I used to use a Blue Garcia Beast winch. Perfect for it. You can always go up to like your Shimano Tranix and your Calcuttas. I mean, it gets crazy with prices, but it's all about what you like. There's tons of options. But line, I kind of stick with my lighter stuff. My lighter baits, I'll kind of run with like 20-pound fluorocarbon. Okay. And maybe get up above 3 ounces. I might run 25-pound fluorocarbon. I mean, that's just what I like. I don't use braid a whole lot just because when you're lobbing that much weight out there, if you get a wind knot or something, and bye-bye.
Ding.
But yeah, braid's on the other rods, but not so much for swim baits.
Right on, right on. So, like, if somebody was going to get into it, like, what's a good entry level, not going to break the bank, like swim bait they should look at picking up?
A swim bait, man, like a Savage Gear, I think makes shine glides. Molex just came out with a glide. 6 Cents has some glides, and these are all $20, $30 baits. You know, I mean that sounds crazy. I mean, that's expensive, but
people pay that for people pay that for jackhammers, mega bass jerk baits. I mean, it's not out of the realm nowadays to pay $20 for a bait. It's when you guys are out there spending like over $100. I'm like, are you guys like okay? Are you on drugs? Like, what is wrong with you?
What's crazy with that is I was that way when I first started. I bought a couple and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then I bought more. But here's the thing: is I'll still buy a $100 swim bait, but I'll still cringe at paying $20 for a jackhammer.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, but that's just how I do it.
It makes no sense at all, dude.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So wait a minute. With that being said, so like, what's the biggest difference between like a $30 glide bait or swim bait versus like $100 swim bait?
So this is just what I've seen. Most of what your $30 baits are going to be your plastic baits, your injection mold, and then your $100 baits. Not all, but some are going to be handmade.
Okay.
They're made of resin. They're usually a lot more R&D put into them, and to me they swim better, a little more durable. They're just mostly tried and true and proven.
Okay. Yeah. What's one of your favorite like big swim baits that you like to throw?
My favorite, I love glides. I do fish multi-jointed and stuff like that, and I soft swim baits. But for glides, I mean, it's KGB, Chad, that right there. That is my smallmouth go-to. But yep, 2.5 ounces, about 7 inches long with the tail. So I mean, it's really a giant fluke is how I look at it.
Okay. Okay.
But
so you're basically fishing it with the same cadence as a fluke.
Correct. Yeah. Super slow, just out long glides, and a lot of times too, like you were talking about earlier, with you get a lot of follows, and they don't always. They'll come by and they'll look at it and maybe nudge it on the side. If I do get that a lot, I will reel it in fast and then throw a fluke out there or a Cinco or something else, something different. And sometimes I'll just come right back to it and smack it.
Interesting.
Just because they're already that curious.
Okay. So when you're doing that, right, and this is just my curious mind, are you throwing like a Senko or a fluke in the same color pattern as the swim bait you're using?
Senko usually always black, but fluke, yeah, it's usually pretty similar. But just those two baits are, they're going to fish similar to a glide, where they're just going to have that slow descent, and then you can just kind of twitch it, and almost that erratic motion.
Right.
But the Cinco is more just it's just to see if they just turn around and hit it right away.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I was told to ask you about this earlier. I heard you're a big fan of the Ned rig.
I love the Ned rig. Ned rig is go-to in spring. Ned rig and tubes.
Okay. All right.
That's just
what's your favorite Ned rig color?
Just a brownish green pumpkin, anything.
Okay.
I'm not particular. Colors, I don't get really into colors.
Okay.
Natural. I just try to stay natural. But this spring I've been using the Ned rig jig with a little trailer on it. I did some damage this spring on that.
Ned rig jig. Like the one made by Z-Man?
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Right there. A little brown, a little black, a little gold.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, another Hoosier. See, you guys corrected me. Another Hoosier turned me on to those. Alan Reed, who is no longer a Hoosier. He's down in Florida, but yeah, I heard he was smashing them. I think that was up in La Crosse. He caught some really nice fish on that Ned jig with a TRD just tagged on the back of it, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, you mentioned you took a trip this spring. Where were you at, man? Because you caught some really nice fish, and I haven't got a chance to talk to you about this. So we're going to talk about it in front of everybody.
That's just fun. Wisconsin River.
Okay.
Kind of the last minute a deal. Kind of got invited on a trip, and we were going to go somewhere else, and it was flooded. So we headed up there instead, and it was dynamite. Hit it just right. I mean, full pre-spawn. They were feeding hard to go up. It was good.
Was it up on the northern part or the southern part?
Very north.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've always heard that's super juicy up that way, and
it is.
They can get pretty feisty.
It's it can be a little tricky up there. Lots of couple class 3 rapids, and you got to really pay attention to what you're doing. But it adds to the fun. The river was about 2 foot high, so it was pretty interesting.
You were going for a ride.
I was going for a ride. I was the only one without a trolling motor.
Well, it was probably better off that way for you, right?
For me, yeah, it worked great. I run a 2 anchors, one off the rear, one off the front, and I could just, slap over to a pocket. And I did pretty good. It worked out pretty well. So,
do you run a motor at all?
I have one, and I just haven't bit the bullet on a battery yet. But
okay,
that's the plan. That's hopefully this year coming up.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were a motor guy at all, or I thought you were kind of like strictly pedal, but you also or paddle, but you also have the pedal drive as well, don't you?
I do. Yep, from a Pursuit.
Nice, nice. Utilizing that on the river, just pedaling upstream and then floating back down, or
just going, or even just floating down and just be able to hold position real well. I mean, works great. That me, that's just. To be able to hold position is everything. To be able to sit somewhere and pick it apart for a while, not to worry about anchor lines going down, catching the rocks and whatnot. Pivot drive is pretty key in that way. So, yeah.
Right on. I like it, man. Well, we're winding down about a half hour mark. We briefly mentioned it before. You work with Moving Water Outfitters up there on the north side of Indianapolis. You been up to the shop lately?
It's the last demo day. I didn't get to this one last weekend. I had to work, but the previous one before that was there for that. Always a good time.
How's their inventory looking on new canoes if somebody wanted to pick one up? Do you know offhand?
Pretty good. They do go fast, just like everything else. But I think if you get your name in the hat, it pretty much guaranteed right now.
Nice. Very cool, man. Yeah, go check those guys out if you're around the Indianapolis area, anywhere in Indiana or the eastern part of Illinois, western part of Ohio, man. It's definitely a cool shop, and they also do some guided fly fishing stuff out of there. They got a nice fly shop. Like if you guys are into fly fishing, I highly recommend going in there. They got a nice setup going on over there at Moving Waters for sure. Man, thank you so much. Anybody you want to shout out, thank, give a hard time, Gibson, things like that. The floor is all yours, man.
Just thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it, and it was lived up to his expectations. And Matt, I want to thank Matt. Man, Matt's been great. He can't ask for a better regional director.
His head's going like this right now, bro.
Yeah. You gotta feed the beast every once in a while.
Yeah. Keep him happy.
But Moving Waters has been great to me. We have a phenomenal fishing team. Everybody there at Moving Waters is great. I mean, they will bend over backwards to get you taken care of. Just extremely happy I kind of made that friendship. And then New Canoe has been awesome. I mean, I've been paddling a New Canoe since 2016. It's just been great. It's made my fishing experience so much better. Like I said before, I mean, I love traveling all these rivers all over, and being in a new canoe has just been fantastic.
Dude, I almost forgot the question because I've been doing some dealers lately. So we always end every show on this question. You have a Frontier 12. It's rigged up tandem. You can go fishing with anybody you want for the day, dead or alive. Who's it going to be?
All right, so I thought about this for a bit. Minus family, dad, because that's just a given.
Sure.
This is gonna throw you a little bit. This is out in left field. But do you remember the show Spanish Fly?
Yes, Dean Rojas, right?
No, Jose Wehebe.
Yeah.
Him.
Why him?
Man, that guy. As a kid or a teenager, I mean, I couldn't wait for the next episode of that show to come out. He was just everything about fishing that you could possibly want to know. He laid it out, and it was just all about the adventure, all about the scenery, and the fishing was just a bonus. I mean, it was everything I love about it is how he could explain it through a show, and one of the fishiest people I've ever seen in my life, and always wish I could have met him, but.
Is he still doing that show?
No, he was in a plane crash and passed away.
Oh, all right. Well,
years ago.
Okay. I remember the show. I remember seeing it on the TV. Do they still play reruns of the show? Maybe
I haven't seen them in a while. I mean, it's on like YouTube and stuff, but I still watch them every once in a while. I mean, it's
maybe that's where I've seen it. Yeah, I remember seeing it somewhere, like Outdoor Channel or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Besides the point. But no, that's cool, man. That's a new one. That's different. I like it.
Yep.
I like it, man. And like you said, it kind of relates to your style of fishing, and we can see where the influence comes from, man. It's super cool. So, right on, man. I appreciate you taking time away from the family tonight to hop on, talk a little fishing, little swim bait knowledge, so to speak, and all that good stuff. Definitely appreciate it. Guys, gals, if you hopped on late, you could always go back, rewatch on the Facebook, the YouTube, listen on any major podcast platform. I upload the shows like a half hour after we get done. So you can always check it out there. We appreciate you. We're here every Tuesday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock out on the West Coast. Until next time, boys and girls, tight lines, smooth paddle.